opposed and had full authority. And there were people who did all kind of wrong to him and his companions. What do you expect any commander in that position to do? At least to settle the account. With the exception of less than a dozen people, half of whom were forgiven, that were exempt, it was basically a general amnesty for everyone. He stood at the Kaaba and gathered people around him. By the way, before he went even, he sent people to say, if you don't fight, you're safe. If you go to the Kaaba, you're safe. If you go to the house of Abu Sufyan, their chief, you're safe. If you close your door on you and don't fight, you're safe. And the order came to the commanders, no plunder, no murder, nothing. To the point that one time he heard, as the army was marching to Mecca, one says, this is the day of Malhama, and Malhama in Arabic means the fight. Now we settle the account. Malhama. He said, no, Marhama. They sound similar. Marhama actually means mercy. This is the day of mercy and forgiveness. And he did that. He didn't fail. He told the people, the masses in front of him, what do you think I'm going to do to you today? They said, you are an honored brother, son of an honored brother. Two things were reported of him. One, he said, you go, you are all free. The second narration is that he said to them, I only say to you today what Joseph, Prophet Joseph, said to his brother. You know, of course, what his brother did to him, throwing him and all of this conspiracy. I said to you what Joseph said unto his brothers, and he quoted a verse from the Quran from chapter 12. You can read it actually. Chapter 12 has the full story of Joseph, and it is the only story that's told fully from beginning to end in one chapter, uniquely. It's a beautiful story. I tell you what Joseph said unto his brothers, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم وهو أرحم الراحمين. There is no blame this day. May God forgive you all, for He is the most merciful. That's with the enemies. We have parallels here too.
One more question. Okay, I'll abuse the power and I'll kind of go back to his question. I asked my question to both of you, since nobody is raising hands. The verses that Tim quoted to Reverend David is, Jesus spoke about loving your enemy. And when I read the New Testament, we see him chasing out the money changers from the temple. So my question is to you and to Dr. Badawi is, how do you respond when the enemy is to you personally? And how do you respond an enemy who is attacking you as a society? So then, you know what I mean? Like Jesus said, love your enemy, but he still went and chased the money changers out, which to my eyes is they were harming the society. So how do you see these two enemies, the personal enmity between yourselves or somebody and a communal? So, to David.
Well, I was educated by Jesuits at Marquette University, so approach this like Thomas Aquinas, although it's getting kind of late and I'm not thinking like Thomas Aquinas right now. But Thomas Aquinas developed the just worth theory, and also spoke quite a bit about what we can and are allowed to do to defend ourselves. And basically the just war theory has been abused. It's been terribly abused by politicians who have manipulated it for their purposes, and we have probably gone off to wars that we've said are just, but probably are not just. I think that Thomas Aquinas would say we are allowed to raise our hand to stop the blow from hitting us and to deflect the blows. As far as Jesus in the temple, you know, I never really understood that verse very well. It always seemed to be such a contrast with a rather controlled nature that he had. And I'm still struggling with that. To me that passage from the Bible is still great mystery to me. And when I know that is coming up in the gospel for an upcoming Sunday, I make sure that Father Raker is the one that gives a homily that Sunday. So.
I think there are also some parallel in some respect. You see the Quran with respect to personal insult or somebody who hurt you. I quote you a verse. I just give the translation, Finnish translation. In the Quran it says, the good deed and the evil deed cannot be equated. Repel evil with what is better, meaning not evil, or repel evil in another verse with what is good. For it may be that there may be someone between you and him, or her of course, there is great enmity, might turn out to be your close, intimate friend. And only those who persevere in patience are able to do this. Which means you assess the situation. And sometimes when we respond to evil by goodness and kindness, it might cause the person to review themselves, and the Quran actually opened the door that not only that enmity may be removed, he might be your close friend. I experienced that myself, some of you might have. Somebody who's so rude to you and all of that, and you help them, you know, in need and so on, it could touch the human heart. So you assess that situation, and it is better in that. But of course, if the whole community is attacked, self-defense is not a bad thing. If it is the only means of stopping aggression, and when peaceful means just peace, not peace. Peace and justice are two sides of the same coin. If just peace cannot be attained by any other reasonable means or reasonable compromise, then of course you have every right to defend, because defending a community, not just your personal ego or insult or whatever, defending a community is part of human nature, it's part of the international law, it's part of the UN Charter that you repel aggression. So we should not shy away from it. And I think, like Reverend David also said, there are, of course, theology that deal with what to do in a situation like that. Just, is it really good to stay there and let the blows come in without even raising a finger? So it depends, again, what people interpret by what Jesus said, turn the other cheek. Maybe he's referring to individual cases where somebody slapped me. I said, I turned the other cheek. It might make him ashamed of himself. But do we take that statement to mean if Hitler keeps slapping you right and left and dominate the whole world and spread dictatorship and massacres, that we do nothing? That's another issue. Likewise, and maybe allow me just to say something very quick, that I admired a Christian writer for a long time ago. I forgot the article. It was an article about the Jesus statement that render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and render unto God what is God's. And I found that's a very, very interesting interpretation, that the coins that they were using for money at that time have on one side the image of Caesar. And according to Judaism and Islam, thou shalt not make an image for God. You know, this goes back to the Genesis. The regulations are very clear. Don't make an image for God. So the writers say that those people who are asking him that question, do we pay the taxes to Caesar or not, were not sincere. They want to put him, when you play chess, check. Whatever answer, he will be in trouble. If he says you pay it, then he admitted the authority of the Romans. If he says don't pay it, hey, he's conducting a rebellion. And actually he was often accused that he's instigating rebellion. So he had a very, very intelligent answer. For he held that coin and turned it and says, render unto Caesar what is Caesar and render unto God what is God. Actually meaning you guys are not sincere. You're coming to ask this frivolous question now while you're keeping in your own pocket the images of Caesar, which